Welcome to Intentional Divorce Insights. I'm Leah Hadley, certified divorce financial analyst, accredited financial counselor, and the founder of Intentional Divorce Solutions. I'll be your guide through the complexities of divorce, finance, and emotional wellness. Join me as we uncover practical tips and empowering insights to help you navigate your divorce with clarity and intention. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Intentional Divorce Insights. I am so happy that you are here with me today. Today, we have a special treat. I get to talk to a friend of mine who is known as Katie the Car Lady. And I have had the good fortune of knowing Katie for several years now. I've sent her clients to work with her. We are going to be diving into a topic that creates a lot of anxiety for a lot of people. And we're going to be talking about the car buying experience and how Katie helps people through that process. But before we get into that, before I ever had the pleasure of meeting Katie, I actually knew her as Katie the Car Lady. She has developed such a beautiful reputation in this area. But I got to know, Katie, how did you become the car lady?
So thank you so much for having me. I am honored. I love to bring people together with intentionality. So I didn't choose it. It chose me. I was a single mom. This was 30 plus years ago. My oldest daughter is now 34, and I didn't want to get stuck in the system. I was fearful to get stuck in the welfare system and not that that's a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with that. I was just fearful that I would get stuck and I couldn't get out. And so I started answering phones at a little leasing company, just like I have now, for a man who gave me a chance to just answer phones. And basically what I found was over time that this is before they had all the transparency laws and all of that stuff. People craved information and no one was giving it to them. I didn't know. I had no car background. I just knew I loved cars, but I didn't know anything about it. And so I started answering questions for people just because I was learning them. And people just were like, wait, hold on, And so as it came, and I had many mentors over the years, some were great. Some I learned really hard lessons, but taught me well. There's this window in our world that does not advocate for consumers and does not allow information. There's always that, oh my gosh, what's behind the curtain, right? Well, I was like, screw that. We're ripping down the curtain because I was like, I don't buy into that, right? It's a total, and truth be told, I think dealers and big companies that are still building this archaic model of secrecy or weird, they call it transparency, but it's really not. I think they don't realize that if they would change the way they did things, they'd actually keep clients longer. But they can't see that because of a scarcity thought or a fear of we're not going to be able to cover our overhead, whatever it is. I don't know. But yeah. But I followed it. And because I am of nature someone who serves, I just have this thing in me. I want to serve and help others. I guess the cool part is now all those women that I get to help, and even men and families, but a lot of them were the woman that I was when I was a single mom, not understanding a lot of things. So it's this really, really cool full circle thing that has come around. So I didn't choose it. It chose me.
And for anybody who is listening, who might be thinking, why is she talking about car buying on a divorce podcast? It's exactly what Katie just said. For a lot of people, there is so much stress around the car buying experience that they hold on to this fear around this particular financial decision. And so that's why I was so excited to bring Katie on, because she can really demystify this whole process for us.
I think another part of that is I have a lot of women who go through, it may not be divorce, it may be something else that's really big, and it's men too, but my main clientele base is women, is that and I know you and I have talked about this, when we make financial decisions because we are in an emotional place, it usually puts us, we don't intend it, it's the unintended consequences. We end up a mess, we're like, oh my God, when the smoke clears, right? We're like, why did I do this? Or why did I didn't even want this kind of car, or I can't afford this payment, or I didn't want to lease. I'm not a person who leases, whatever that is. So what we do is we practice the pause until people feel confident, they understand, they know it's a good, fair deal. But I just think there is tied to, I get a lot of women who are like, and I do not want my ex to know what I'm doing. And, whatever that boundary is they want to set, they have the right to do that. And they have the right to choose what they want to do with their money. The other side of that is I think some people spend many years married. I'm sure you've seen this, and they don't build their credit. And I think it's super uber important. I don't care how much you love your significant other. It's not about them. It is about start building so that you're not stuck. They could die, they could pass away. You could get divorced. There's a million things that could happen. Preparing for yourself.
Absolutely. And we literally just aired an episode about protecting your credit and building your credit through the divorce process. If you haven't watched that episode, I will include a link to it in the show notes. Be sure to check that out because, to Katie's point, this is absolutely critical as you're planning for your financial future.
Katie, I need to share that podcast with my people.
Oh, absolutely. Katie, what do you think is the biggest misconception that people have about buying a car?
So that's a very loaded question because every single person is different. So where you might listen to a car buying thing on, I see so many people they have their podcasts or they have blogs or whatever. They say, oh, you should always lease. You should always lease. Every single person is different. But I would say the biggest like thing is that people just, it's so hard to say because every time I talk to somebody and ask questions, their beliefs are different. Mm-hmm. But the biggest myth is that, there's no way to find out. I'm not allowed to, I feel pressured. I don't want to, I can't, nobody lets me take my time. I can't get a good deal because they're hiding everything. Leasing is terrible. Leasing isn't terrible for everybody, right? It's the worst. You should always buy your car. Well, let me tell you, we have changed. I've been doing this 30 plus years. It's not the way we used to buy cars 20 years ago. It has changed. We drive computers. It doesn't matter political side, but we do have administration that has changed how that has trickled down into the car process. Right? So you have the tariffs that have changed. That doesn't affect everybody, but it affects some people. But what people think is that, the other myth is that there's no one that's going to help me, right? Mm. When they come to me, they're like, well, you're going to cost more. Actually, I save them money because, so I would say the biggest myth is what people create in their head without finding out information or being curious.
Well, and I think you're bringing up a really, really important point that I do want to highlight. And that is, when people are buying a car, most people are feeling significant pressure to make a decision quickly, right? That's kind of how the sales process is structured in the industry. And you are speaking directly to really supporting people and acknowledging that, like, when we make really quick decisions like that, a lot of times there are regrets and we don't have all the information and we don't necessarily do all of our due diligence, right? But you're really encouraging people not to be subject to that, to actually take the space to be like, hey, do I have all of my questions answered? Do I have all the information I need to make a present decision? And to acknowledge the fact that you're absolutely right, Katie, from a financial standpoint, everybody's situation is different. Their needs are different.
I can't even speak to that enough. Please know, and I say this to anyone out there who's listening who says, but I feel like I have to do it. I'd rather see you rent a car for a week at $35 a day than make a $10 or $15 or $20,000 mistake. Okay. So take your time. And if someone tells you, the deal's not going to be there tomorrow, okay, call BS because they're going to make more cars. I promise you. Stop feeding into that lunacy. It's not true. There will always be, and I'm also a believer though that things will happen exactly the way they're supposed to. You may or may not buy a car, somebody may or may not buy a car from me. I will still give them good information, right? Like but take your time. When you're feeling uncomfortable, leave, pause, call, phone a friend. I mean, do anything, like reach out to somebody. Do not sign those documents because it's not about them. It's not about the good deal. It is about you making a good financial choice, keeping control of your money. And also, it's your choice. You get to do that. And so please, please, please know that if you're starting to feel that, oh my God, I don't know, stop, leave. They'll say, well, that's it. You can't do that. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Until you sign those documents, you do not own that car. You can walk out and leave. And if they will not let you, that's even more of a reason to not buy that car.
That's a really good point, right? When you really feel like you're trapped and stuck there, that is a huge
feels like
red flag.
this. Like you have that lump in your throat. I've had that with other things in my life, right? Because and I think that we're taught to like shrink and do what they say. Again, especially when we're going through a split or a breakup of any kind, whether it's divorce, whether you're splitting from a longtime partner, whatever that is, we feel this, oh my gosh, and I say, no, nobody gets to do that. I feel like I want to say nobody puts baby in a corner. But seriously, I want to empower anyone to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you encourage people to do? They know that sometime in the next month, 3 months, year, whatever, they're going to need to start to make a decision around their next vehicle. What steps do you recommend they take, Katie?
So the first thing is, and this is, I'll just kind of tell you what people go through in our process. It just helps me navigate. So the first thing is, don't, do your diligence. Get online, look at what's important to you, make your checklist. So make your checklist and say, okay, this is what's important to me. I can't stress enough, know your budget, but not your monthly payment. Please don't buy on a monthly payment. I know you agree with me on that. So when people call me and say, well, I can afford $400 or $500 a month. Okay, well, let's back that out and say, okay, what is the cost of the car you're going to buy? And the reason this is important to know is because math is math. So if your financial advisor says, okay, or whoever you speak with says, okay, you can spend $25,000 or you can spend this much money, you need to know that so you can maximize your dollar. And that budget has got to be your hard stop, because write it down and take it with you, and know that when you go in to start looking, and by the way, also the 24-hour rule, just because you find a car that day, do not buy it that day. Go home, take pictures, do whatever you want. Go home, think about it, pause. I will tell you, things sometimes can look very different in the next morning. If the car's still there, bonus, right? And you still want it. If you don't, then don't buy it, then that's great. You didn't buy it. But what I do is I tell people to look at, there's so much information online. It doesn't mean it's all accurate, but it can help you. Do I want a hybrid? Do I want electric? Do I want gas? Do I care? Am I leasing? Is that going to make a difference? What is going on with the car I'm coming out of? How do I maximize my dollar? So having that conversation and gathering, right? There are some things that are really online that are really great. And then there's some things that I don't care what people tell you, you need to have a human conversation to talk through the noise. It's just how it is. We're humans. If there are multiple cars you want to drive, I say you have to narrow it down to 3. Do not have more than 3. More than 3, and you will get lost and you will never make a decision. You'll get analysis paralysis. So pick 3 and drive them next to each other. If you're going new, okay? If you're going new. If you're going used, so this is an area I get really mama bear about, because in the used car arena these days, it has gotten very dicey. Here's why. So everybody thinks Carfax and all this stuff is a Bible. However, there's certain dealers, people who buy these cars and they've been wrecked, frame damage, airbags. I mean, horrific accidents. And guess what they do? Oh, I know what they fix them in house and it never goes to Carfax, or you never know that it happened. I had a friend of mine buy a car at a dealer, doesn't matter the name. They didn't disclose this to her. She went to her mechanic. The bumper was put on with roofing screws.
Oh my gosh.
So this is a thing. And I think as women, let's say you're coming out of divorce and this hasn't been the thing that you've done. A lot of women it is. That's their vibe. They love to do it. But there are my people out there, your husband or your wife, whatever, did it for you. And you need to have someone that can help you just breathe and say, it's okay. Let's take it step by step, right? It can feel overwhelming. So get information, write it down. If you have someone that's close to you, like your financial advisor, someone, your bank, whoever you work with, your best friend, go through it with them. Do not do it alone. And I know we all say, well, I'm strong enough. It has nothing to do with strength. It has to do with mental capacity, especially when we're going through any kind of major thing in our life. But divorce can be sometimes the most unhappy or the happiest thing for some people. I mean, who knows, right? It can go both ways. So just get your information together. We always, on our website, I have a free car buying guide, and I say, just go, but just get information together, right? Just like, what are my must-haves? What's important? But that budget thing has got to be a hard stop. And you have to know what that is. And you have to know why. You know what I mean? Like, that's important. The other thing is, if you are buying used or new and the manufacturer does not have any special rates, get your pre-approval at your credit union. Find a credit union. There's a ton of them out there. They're awesome. They have no prepayment penalty. They have rates that are cheaper than most of the banks. Now, I know there's bankers out there going to be like, don't tell them that, but it's the truth. I mean, if you have a bank you really trust and you have money with them and they'll discount the rate, fine. But for the most part,
I think that's a really important, empowering point that a lot of people miss, is that you do have some agency when it comes to how are you going to finance this vehicle. A lot of times people go into the dealership under the assumption that there is one option, but you do have the option of getting your own financing if you choose to do that. And I always encourage people to also remember, let's say you went into a loan and actually you could have gotten a much better deal. It's not too late. You can still look at potentially refinancing that. So just remember that you do have some control there.
Can I ask you a question? So like when you work with women, anybody coming out of divorce, but mostly women, when they're in that situation, like what are ways that because I love to get information from people who are financial to help my people when they ask questions. So what are some ways that you, like when they're going through divorce, like when you say, like if they come to me, I'm going through this divorce, should they, because I don't always know this, should they prepare to buy the car before they divorce or should they do it after? Because some people
this
ask
is
me,
such a good question. Yes, this is an important question. So
Yes.
I'm so glad that Katie asked it. And we could even do a whole episode talking about some of these things, not just as the vehicle, but some of the things that maybe you should and shouldn't do during the process.
I would be here
really
for that.
helpful.
I would be here for that.
So it depends, just like everything else, it depends. So if a divorce has been filed already with the courts, there may be orders in place that limit what you can and cannot do from a financial perspective. And so it's really important to understand those orders if they are in place. If you're not sure, you can consult with your attorney and see what does this allow and not allow me to do. If you're negotiating your divorce outside of the court system, so maybe you haven't actually filed any legal paperwork, there may be reasons where it may make sense to make a vehicle purchase prior to the divorce. But I always encourage people, if you're in negotiations, make sure that this is something that's being clearly communicated. Because what we do see in cases is somebody will go off and buy a vehicle and take a loan and not have any communication about it. And now all of a sudden it's blowing up the whole process because this is a huge financial decision for somebody to make. And when things are feeling unsteady and uncertain, that can feel like a very scary thing to the other person on the other side of that. And so I always encourage people, if you are thinking about it and you are actively negotiating and you're in communication, put it on the table and talk about it and have a plan around timing and execution. Why do I say that? For some people, we talked at the beginning of the episode about credit and the importance of credit. Some people are not in a financial situation to be able to get a vehicle on their own after the divorce. And sometimes having that other person to be able to get you through that process can be really valuable and in some cases necessary. And so it's important to know your own financial situation, to understand the dynamics of how you two are working through the divorce process, and absolutely know from a legal perspective what is okay and is not okay.
Okay, one more question.
Yeah.
This was shared with me by a client, so this one I want to ask you because you're the professional. If they lease, is it more advantageous because that doesn't become an asset?
So again, good question. A lot of times when people are purchasing a vehicle, there's not going to be equity in the vehicle immediately.
Correct.
Anyway, most of the time. So most of the time, most people, unless you're actually buying it outright, that's a different conversation, right? We're talking about financing here. Most of the time, there's no equity in the vehicle. So you're not actually, for most people, getting, another asset, so to speak.
Fair.
Most people are actually taking on another net liability, mass majority of cases in that case. Now, some people need to show that expense for one reason or another. And so sometimes they may go into a lease for that reason to be able to show that expense.
That's actually great. I will say I want to share this too with your people because I think it's important, is that now some of the credit unions, like now we're in Ohio, so Century Federal has it. They have first-time buyer programs now. And so this is another thing I think that some people don't know, right? And the bonus is that they're not crazy rates. They're reasonable. They're fair. So if you have someone, that's a great thing to look into.
That's fantastic. Absolutely. And I would love for you to talk, Katie, because I think, for those who are listening, they may be very familiar with what it looks like to walk into a car dealership and buy a car. But the way that you operate with people is a little different than what maybe most people assume in terms of the process. So talk a little bit about how you can support people and how maybe, I don't know if I imagine there are other people like you across the country. Like, what would you even look for if for somebody?
Interestingly enough, I'm very intentional about every choice I've made in building this business. And it is intentional based on what consumers need, want, and they want to hear. So my brand is built off the independence. So I'm a certified woman-owned independent dealer in the state of Ohio. Independent meaning I'm not tied to a franchise. Right. So I'm not a Ford or the big guys. Right. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just an independent in Ohio. So when you walk into a franchise, they have a model. They've built it. Right. They have franchise laws. They have that is the way. They have one way they do things. That's it, right? So you go through this process of, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to drive a car, I have to put on my boxing gloves, you know what I mean? And funny, but that's true. Like I have to prepare. Right. So we're very different, and this is how we do it. And I've created this. And if any of you out there, I don't know if any of you have ever read the book. It's called Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara. And if you haven't, I would recommend it 100% if you own a business. But it's creating a space that is, my customers will say, my God, this is just amazing. I'm like, it shouldn't be this amazing. I mean, it is, and I'm grateful, but it shouldn't be so crazy out of the ordinary to provide the services. So when someone calls, the first thing we do is just have a conversation. There's no trying to sell, nothing. We just try to hear what's going on with them. Everyone calls because they have a problem, right? There's something that is eating at them, right? Or their lease is coming up, or they're getting a divorce, whatever it is. Just my car is dying. We always say it's on a DNR, So whatever that is, we listen to that. We fill out that information in regards to any team you talk to. From there, once we have that conversation, we schedule an appointment. And it's like, okay, so first things first, do we have to look at a car? What do you want to test drive? What is that? If they want to test drive, like let's say they want to test drive 3 new cars, we will pull all 3 new cars next to each other, set up an appointment. They get to test drive by themselves. They do sign a form that says they're insurance. You have to have insurance, but they test drive by themselves. They compare them. And then we sit and talk about what they like and didn't like, right? Then is it lease or buy? And then we compare the numbers, right? And sometimes it takes really long and sometimes it's fast. Sometimes people come to me and they already know what they want. But the next part, I think, is what's important. And that is this. We talk through the finances. So we don't shotgun your credit to everyone like they do, which I think is terrible. People are like, well, don't you need my information? I don't need your information until you make a decision. Right? So we don't do any of that. Everything is very intentional to let them breathe. By the way, you will pay less. I price my used cars under market. We still make a profit, but it's under market. And new cars, when you pick up your car, you're in and out in under 1 hour.
That's a beautiful thing.
You don't go through F&I. You've seen all the numbers ahead of time. You know exactly what everything is. We go over the car with you. Your name's on a board welcoming you. Everything is about you and being the consumer that has gotten to control the deal, but that from beginning to end, it's stress-free, you enjoy it, and you actually save time and money.
Did you all hear that? You enjoy the car buying experience. The first time I heard somebody had worked with Katie and they were talking about this experience, like my mind literally like exploded a little bit. Like if this could actually be like not such a stressful thing. I think that's amazing.
It's taken years. Don't get me wrong. I've had to really work on every little, and listen, we're not perfect, but when people hug me at the end, I mean, literally it gets me choked up. I'll even get choked up thinking about it because one of my mentors told me, if you can't be the rock, be the ripple. And we get to be a ripple effect. So whether I sell somebody a car or not, whether you take on a client or not, but you share information, anyone out there, when you share something with somebody, right? And they go and help someone else, and I'm going to get choked up. They go out there and they help someone else with that information. We've now created a ripple effect, as women who are helping women, because we have to do that for each other. We have to.
Absolutely. Now, Katie, I don't know the answer to this, so I'm actually very curious to ask this question.
Okay.
We have, a broad audience from all over the country, and I see clients nowadays buying cars from not necessarily even where they live, like buying cars from all over the country. Mm-hmm. Are you able to help people who aren't local, or are you only able to support people locally?
Well, yes and no. It depends where you are. It depends where you are, and it depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for a used car and you live in, Utah. I'm making that up because my best friend lives in Utah. You live in Utah. I can't help you buy that car. What I can do though is tell you what to do, how to negotiate it, what exactly the steps are. And I do. So I have people across the country that do use me for that. And what I say is, okay, I'll help you. If you want to do it for this, I'll give you this many hours. I'll do it. It's $300 to $500, but I'll save you thousands, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm very fair about that. And I say that out to you, all of you, because if somebody calls me and they just need to ask some questions, I don't charge a dime. Knowledge is free. I'm not going to charge you for my information. It's if you're like, I found a car, I need some help. I want you to walk me through this. I do ship new cars. I have customers in California. I ship their new cars to them. So I have customers in New York. So it depends, I say, what you're looking for. But used cars, I really stay Northeast Ohio because I will not sell a car I can't put on a rack. I will not. But I'll tell you how to do it where you live. Doesn't mean you have to. I'll give you knowledge and information for free. I'm not here to charge everybody every penny. But if you want to hire me to help you through the process, I'll do that. I don't gouge people. But yeah, so yes and no. Like your question, it depends.
Yeah. No, I think that's fantastic. And Katie mentioned earlier that she actually has a free guide on her website about the car buying process. So we will absolutely make sure to include a link in the show notes to that so you all can take advantage. Katie, if somebody's interested in talking to you, where can they learn more about your services?
So if you Google Katie the Car Lady, I know that sounds cheesy, but it's true. We are Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. That's another way if you just want some information about the market, because I do put a lot of content out that's not to sell anybody, but just to help them. But you could katiethecarlady.com. That's where you can get that free car buying. And when I know that my industry is known as smarmy, people don't trust it. They think something's weird. Listen, I will tell you the truth, pros and cons, no matter what. But I really want to disrupt that market. I really want to help people. Like, it's genuine. And I know cars in and out. I do not know how to plan your financial future. I do not know how to help you through these things with divorce like Leah does. But I know the car industry and I know that. And so if there's any way I can ever help someone, I always will. And it doesn't have to be as scary. So if you're in that process or you're fearing it, whether you call me or not, just breathe. You could do it. You can do it. It doesn't have to be that way.
Absolutely. Katie, thank you so much for being with us today, for sharing your heart and your wisdom. And I can just say, knowing Katie as long as I have known her, that I fully, absolutely endorse her and am happy to send people her way, because I just think that what she's doing is so, so important and absolutely an area where people feel very taken advantage of. And we don't want to see that for them.
Exactly. And if any of your anybody in your broadcast area, if you have ideas for things you want me to put information out, let me know, because I don't always know what I put out, what I think is important. But if you have clients and they're like, we'd love to learn more about this, tell me. I'll put the content out.
That is great to know. And I will take you up on that, Katie. That's fantastic.
I love it. I love doing that. I don't always know the little quirky things. If you say, hey, customers ask me about this, I'm happy to put something out there, so, and thank you so much for the opportunity. I love to give people a different set of eyes.
Beautiful. Absolutely. For our audience, thank you so much for being here and spending this time with us. Be sure to take advantage of some of these resources that we've talked about. Again, I'm going to include a link to Katie's buying guide, and I include a link to the show on protecting your credit through divorce. Lots of great resources here, so make sure to take advantage, and we will see you next week. Thank you for joining me on Intentional Divorce Insights. It's a privilege to share this time with you. I hope each episode offers valuable guidance to navigate your journey. If you find our content helpful, please leave a review to help others discover the benefits of intentional decision-making in divorce. Until next time, take care and continue to embrace your path with intention.